Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's video is a album review by Duran Duran, their first album. I think it was 1981 it came out. Their first album, self-titled Duran Duran. Gonna go through the songs and review them, give them a score, and then also give the overview of the album a score. Um, Actually, I don't have this album. Um, I wouldn't say I'm a huge Duran Duran fan. Um, I've some tough opinions on Duran Duran, but I do like a good 10, 15, 20 songs they did. A couple probably per album. Um, yeah, I don't think it's hard for me to. I don't have any Duran Duran album per se. I have a couple singles, a couple 12 inches. But I'm not necessarily uh, a big Duran Duran fan. You know, I have probably a few of the early singles, and then probably some of the middle singles. Probably, maybe maybe three or four Duran Duran singles, but not too much. I'm not the biggest fan of them. Um, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about that during at the end because it kind of relates to my overall thoughts of the album. And I tried to be very fair with this album, even though I'm not a huge Duran Duran fan. And that's what I'm trying to do with these reviews is be honest as possible. I have no doubt, even if I don't first of all, me liking music, I want to like music, so I'm not gonna mark something bad just because I don't like the artist. If I like the song, I like the song. If I like the artist and I don't like the song, then I'll say so. I don't have any second thoughts about giving my honest opinion when it comes to artists. So, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a big Duran Duran fan, and that's why I don't have this album. But I respect what they do. I do like some of their stuff, and I thought I'm doing so much new wave music. I probably should throw a Duran Duran album. I'm pretty familiar with their whole catalog, especially up through at least the mid '90s. The first like eight or so albums. I'm very familiar with most of their stuff. I probably don't know the album's ins and outs, but I certainly know all the singles and secondary popular songs. But there's probably a couple. I don't think I mean, it's been a long time since I may have even heard a whole Duran Duran album all the way through. So that's one of the things that kind of interests me about listening to the album this week, and then also kind of giving like an honest opinion about it and going song by song and kind of testing my opinion about them going into the album. So let's look at the first track, "Girls on Film." Obviously, this was a staple back in MTV in like 1982. I think this was their first single that really hit it. I mean, Planet Earth was also there as well, and then shortly after these two songs, then "Hungry Like a Wolf" just blew them up. And of course, Rio was huge as well, and uh, you know, something I should know. And then I'm trying to think of the ballad that they had that was huge. But I even remember Duran Duran was so big in like 82, 83 that I can remember them premiering the "New Moon on Monday" single, and the video, because it was such. I don't ever remember a big. I remember a couple years later, like Aha. I remember watching that debut. The sun always shines on TV was like a huge um, video premiere because remember back in the 80s when they had video premieres? That was pretty cool. I never thought about that, but then I was thinking about New Moon on Monday when that premiered, and remember they had video premieres from bands back in the 80s, and that was cool. It'd be like 10 o'clock at night, we were premiere the new Duran Duran song, and I remember they premiered New Moon on Monday. Must have been like 83, and it was a good song, and it was a good video as well. But they were just so huge back then, and Girls on Film and Planet Earth kind of kicked it off with the videos. And I do really like Girls on Film. It's a cool beat, guitar riff is good, it's sung well. it's pretty catchy overall. I like it. It's a very good track for sure. I got 3 stars. I can't really knock anything off it or really can't blown away by anything, but I definitely think it's a really good song, and I respect it for what it is and being a really catchy song and kind of a classic in some ways, a classic new wave song. So if I felt it was like a 2.5, almost 3 stars, I definitely give it a 3 stars because I'm okay with that. I think it deserves that. It's a very good track for sure. Then Planet Earth. Planet Earth is my favorite song on this, which going into it, I don't, I certainly know, like when I think of the songs on this, I already knew Girls on Film, Planet Earth, Careless Memories, and of course Friends of Mine, and those were kind of the more popular songs from this album. And then when I was going through the other ones, I kind of remember Tel Aviv, the instrumental, and I remember maybe Sounds of Thunder or something. But there's a couple in here that I don't think I remember hearing. I'm sure my sister played. I remember my sister liked Duran Duran a lot, and but I just didn't really catch on to them. Even when this came out when I was 5, and I remember them really strong in '82, like I was saying with the MTV, and '83 and stuff like that. I never really like gravitated towards them. I just don't find Duran Duran's music very deep. It doesn't. I don't. You know, it's hard for me not to already kind of go into my overall view of Duran Duran, but I'll say that for later. But I just don't find them very deep. But those are the songs that I remember, going into it, and sure enough, Planet Earth is the best song, and I'm not surprised. Um, it's one of my favorite early Duran Duran songs. It's a bit more futuristic. It's got a good balance of electronic sounds and a cool guitar riff. Um, a lot of people think it's sort of copying Japan's Quiet Life or Life in Tokyo. They kind of have that kind of sequencer sound and that keyboard sound, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but Planet Earth has it as it kind of fades in. And but yeah, it's a really good song. It's really close to excellent. I had it 3 3/4 stars. Excuse me. It's definitely my favorite track on this, and I still like it. Geez, almost 45 years later, right? It's making me feel old. Then the third track, Anyone Out There? It's pretty solid. It's got a good bass line. There's definitely some good bass lines. Good healthy bass, kind of funky bass. Is it as future? Is it as cool as like Japan? Mick Carton's not even close, but it's got some good funk. I think it was John Taylor is the bass player. He does a good job on this album. There's definitely a few songs where the bass is pretty strong and probably even could have been used a little bit more. And there's really no atmospheric songs really that if you take out the instrumental that really um, I don't know, like kind of test the waters or maybe be a little bit more experimental, and be a little different. Um, Kind of Nick Rhodes is kind of Nick Rhodes is definitely featured a lot in this in the background, but I don't know if he really takes the lead on anything like when you think of like their popular one with the keyboard sound. I can't think of uh, the ballad one from I think it's from their second album. It was a huge hit. Um, it's the video where they're at the pyramids. Anyways, can't think of what it was, but that one kind of has some lead synths in it, which is really cool. I mean, that's a great melody. I would definitely give that probably. That might be when I get to that song when I do that album. I'm blanking on the song, but that one's probably going to be a 4 star song for sure when I think of Duran Duran. I really like that song. But anyone out there is good, some good harmonizing, good nice melody. It's good. I gave it 2 stars. To the Shore. The keyboard backing is pretty good. I like the guitar. The sound effects are kind of silly. There's some kind of like I don't know, like grunting or moaning in the background. It's kind of weird. And I gotta say it now, like some Simon Le Bon singing is it kind of that's another thing that kind of like I don't know. It's just sometimes I mean, it works for a lot of the songs, but it only to me it only works because there's not really much depth in the music. You know, a lot of it. There's definitely some songs where his voice fits. I'm probably most of them, but it's is his voice great? Like, no, I can't say it is. And this is a good example to the shore. The song called "The Shore." It was singing is like, eh. You know, I just put, ugh. I don't know what to say. It's just, you know, he doesn't have a. There's no parts where you say, "Oh, Simon really sang that really good," right? It's just kind of like Duran Duran's a catchy song, and then again, I'm going into Duran Duran overall. It's just just Simon Le Bon, just his personality doesn't have much depth to me. He's just kind of a wants to get popular and get girls. Like there's really, I mean, I don't find anything. I'm not really one to go in deep into their lyrics, but I doubt there's anything deep in Duran Duran's lyrics. I mean, it's so funny because it doesn't. It just says lyrics are by Duran Duran, so you don't even know in this album who wrote what. And I think that's a good example of Simon Le Bon probably singing somebody else's songs and who know who wrote this. Probably, I mean, Nick Rhodes seems like the one with the most depth in the band, and he's I don't know how much of it he writes, but Simon kind of sings like very. It's not very emotional. It's very. I don't know. Sometimes he thinks he's kind of clever, and he thinks he's like shit. He's the shit, and really, what does he sing about? Everything is very, very vague. To the shore, like, well, I get a feeling like he's copying. Like it's hard to say like how much Duran Duran copied Japan. They certainly copied their look. But there was a lot of new romantic bands sort of in that. But you can see as soon as they went popular, like they changed their look from this album. Like Duran Duran, he had like Simon Le Bon had the scarf and the white jacket and the brown boots, kind of looking like a Outback Adamant or something like that. You know what I mean? Like even some makeup on there. And the only one who really kept looking like that was sort of Nick Rhodes, and he wasn't even close to how mod or new romantic he looked on this album that he did a couple albums later, even 4 years later. So by the time like Notorious hit or something, they were all just normal guys. But I think they caught on really, really quickly. Like they blew up so quickly that they were like, okay, we don't really have to have a style. We can just sort of, we don't have to be odd or fit a niche or look like we're have to fit in some scene. Like we're kind of we can get lazy about it. We can just kind of just be ourselves and it's just they don't really have much depth as as lyricists or writers. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of music through their history that's kind of trying things and they don't work and they're kind of going with the flow and nobody would say Duran Duran was groundbreaking or nobody would say you know that they're really stand out in it, but they are like super popular. So it's just like I don't know. I just have this like mixed feeling. Like I don't get that they're really like into their music. Like you know what I mean? Like Simon. I mean, and it's probably because of Simon Le Bon. Like he really doesn't you know put out that he really kind of wouldn't say not that he doesn't care, but it's just like he's just kind of aloof and kind of like stuck up. Just kind of a jerk. I don't know. There's a few songs on here. I'm just like, um. So yeah, Careless Memories. The instrumental is really strong. I don't really like the chorus. And that's the other thing about Duran Duran. Their choruses are really kind of, they just say what the song is. Notorious, careless memories, and that's hungry like wolf, hungry like wolf. Like the choruses really don't do anything. They just kind of say the planet Earth. We're living on planet Earth. Blah, blah, blah. Like none of the lyrics or the other choruses for the most part really like do much. And I don't really like the the chorus on Careless Whispers. Careless Whispers. Careless Memories. I do like the instrumental overall, though. I really do like the instrumental. It's pretty strong, everything underneath it. And I really like the verses. It's just the chorus kind of puts me off a little bit. But I got 2.5 stars. It's in between good and very good. I'm talking about the overall of Duran Duran, not necessarily this song sometimes or this particular album. I'm just, just giving you my. Any Duran Duran fans that are sort of waiting for my opinion. I'm here to tell you my opinion of this album. It's really strong, but so if you're hinging on that, just know that it's not going to be that great. But I don't have that much great things to say about this album. But I think I'm being really fair with this. So let me try to stay on point here. Night Boat. I like the keyboard sounds. It's just underwhelming. Simon singing is really rough here. I got it almost good. It's like 1.75 stars. Almost good. It's not bad. It's almost good. Then Sound of Thunder has the same sound that's in Planet Earth. That keyboard I was talking about. Chorus is kind of whatever. Doesn't really do too much for me, but it's not bad. It's got some decent instrumental parts, musical parts. I got it same as the last one, 1.75 stars. Friends of Mine is a strong song. It kind of reminds me of the Beatles for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe just the way they harmonize in it. I really like or maybe it's the changes that are in the song are kind of Beatles like. Best groove on the album for sure. Bass. I really like the bridge. The chorus is okay, but overall it's one of the better songs on the album. I got it tied for second best on the album with Girls on Film, with 3 stars. So if I had to pick which one's better, I would say Girls on Film I like better than Friends of Mine, but Friends of Mine is my third favorite on the album. But I got it equal at 3 stars. And then I got Tel Aviv, solid instrumental. I gave it 2 stars. It's good. So when I look at the overall of the album, it's got a few classics on it. Planet Earth and Girls on Films are certainly classics. I wouldn't say they're high performing classics on my rating scale, but they're definitely new wave, kind of staples. There's couple good supporting songs, Friends of Mine and Careless Memories. Those are good songs. The opportunities of the album is kind of my issues with Duran Duran, and here's why I'll probably get into it most. And I may have already said a little bit of this already, but just kind of reading my notes here. Simon singing is, again, I don't know if I really kind of relate to his voice. I don't know if it's that or he doesn't really have much depth in his voice. He doesn't. I mean, it's not like he can't sing a slow song and then sing a fast song or a dance song and then sing a ballad. It's not really that. It's just maybe it's the inflection of his voice. He doesn't really have too much range in his voice. You know, like what he talks about when he sings too. I don't know who writes it, if he writes some of it or what, but I got in parentheses waiting for the night boat. Like, what does that mean? Waiting for the night boat? Like, I have no idea what that means. And then that goes back to that song, to the night boat. It's just, I don't know, just the chorus. I'm just thinking, what is the night boat? What is that referencing? What does that mean? I don't know. The lack of experimentalism on this album, it's just kind of a new wave album. It's just kind of there. There's really no like thing that really kind of, like a melody or an extended guitar riff or, besides the instrumental, which is probably put on there because they only have 8 songs and they can't think of 2 more songs, to fit the album. But, it's just, I don't know if, it's just I think one of the things that I noticed about Duran Duran songs is they don't have enough depth to make an entire album good. Like, there's some catchy singles, and that's about it. They there may be a couple supporting songs on every album. I can always think of a couple on each album, but I just they just can't make a full album. And I don't ever hear anybody arguing about what the best Duran Duran album is. I mean, there's really they just they're known for their singles and they aren't really known for their albums. I guess you could say Rio, is their best album. Most people would probably say that for sure. But they have some tankers in there, like Liberty. That album's rough. Um, you know, uh, the album after I think it was when they had their comeback with Come Undone and the other big hit they had from '93. The album after that was really rough, and then they did those really rough um, cover songs. Some rough ones on there too. Um, it's just they just don't have enough depth. I wouldn't say that it's not that they don't have enough talent to make an entire album. It's just they don't have enough depth or creativity to make a good album. Um, One note in here I have is Nick Rhodes plays the major notes, and it hasn't aged well, versus playing a lot of minor notes. Take that for what it's worth. I have the parentheses Sound of Thunder is a good example where he's playing the keyboards along with the main part of the song, so he's sort of the lead, but not really. So there's really no depth, and when you play the majors on a keyboard, especially when it's like 1981, you're risking it sounding really kind of dated, and in my opinion, this album hasn't aged very well. And I won't say aged well because there's a lot of times where albums haven't aged well, but at least they sound vintage in a good way. Japan is a good example of that. Do I like Japan better than Duran Duran? Yeah, but so am I biased saying that? Yeah, for sure. But um, I just think of their music, and Nick Rhodes is a good keyboard. Um, the guy with the long C at the end of his name, who played with Duran Duran here and there. I think he played in Missing Persons, right? Uh, can't think of his name. He's talented. Their bass player is talented. I don't really have much of an opinion of their drummer. It seems like they're um, sometimes they do a drum machine and sometimes they do a drummer, like throughout their career, which is kind of cool. Um, Sometimes I think of Duran Duran as like who likes Duran Duran? Like sometimes I think of the people who like Duran Duran are the people that don't like deeper new wave. Like somebody says Duran new wave, and if they say Duran Duran within the first couple, you know, band examples of good new wave, then I'm kind of like, ugh. Because I don't find anybody who really likes a lot of different electronic music and likes and would say Duran Duran, immediately is one of the best new wave albums, new wave acts. I just don't generally hear it. Um, but I just find that Duran Duran can't make a full album, and they just don't really have the depth to make. Um, I wouldn't say different songs. It's just it's just I'm not. I may sound conflicted on, but I'm trying to be nice without saying that I don't like them. But when I listen to their music, yeah, they got some good songs, but I don't know if it's Simon Le Bon that kind of like irks me, or one of the funniest things is that they call it the bum note that Simon sings at Live Aid. When they sing the View to a Kill from the James Bond movie, right? And he hits that bum note. Just YouTube it if you haven't seen. Just look up Simon Le Bon bum note, and he hits that note. I mean, that's kind of a good example of like what I think about Simon Le Bon. Like anybody who tries to sing that note, and then kind of play it off like he had a bad, uh, he had a bad cold or something like that. Like, come on, dude. Like, you thought you were the shit, and you tried to hit some kind of like weird note trying to impress somebody, and it just went wrong, and you didn't think it through because you don't really think things through when you're on stage. You're just kind of a good looking doll out there, that thinks he's like singing to a bunch of girls and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, Simon Le Bon and Duran Duran. I just think they are. I like a lot of their songs too. Like, I'm gonna do their other albums too, and I'm curious to see which one I like. I'm sure Radio will probably be first, but there's some good songs on it. I would probably say that there's gonna be probably around 7 or 8 songs I'll give a 4 star to. Like, I really like Come Undone. I really like All She Wants Is, probably because of the dance remixes, but I always liked that song. Um, is it Big Love, or is it um, I Don't Want Your Love? I'm thinking Big Love. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac. I Don't Want Your Love. I like that song. The slow song I can't think of. I like that song. There's a couple songs on Notorious that I like. Again, I like Planet Earth. I like. I do like Voodoo Kill. I really like Union of Snake, and I really like. Uh, Shoot, I can't think of the other song. It's around the time of Union Snake. It's like 83, 84. It was one of the singles too. Um, oh, Skin Trade. I really like Skin Trade. Skin Trade is one of my favorite. And so, there's a good 10, 15 songs I like by Duran Duran that I would give close to 4 stars, if not more. But yeah, I just, some of their early stuff is very inconsistent, and some of their getting on through the 80s stuff is as they try different stuff and maybe try too hard to make a hit, didn't go over too well. Uh, but yeah, when I add up the song, uh, when I add up the stars on this album, I have 20 stars and 3/4 divided by 9 songs. So it's a 2.31 rating. So 2.31 rating. Generally, that puts it around in between the 50s and 60s for an album. I think I gave it a couple extra points because I do respect it. Not much extra points, but I gave it a 58 out of 100. So it's almost that good. It's kind of verging on the higher side of okay. You know, Again, 60 would be an average of 2.5. And again, when I do the stars per song, it's kind of just gives me a guide because, you know, on this album, really, there's only 8 songs. And sometimes, like, if it's a 1 minute instrumental, I still got to rate it, and that goes toward the average. So there's things like that, maybe too many songs, maybe too less of songs, where I take those things into account too. Um, but it's not my final decision on where it goes. But I like to give it as a guide, and then I feel like, okay, well, I want to give it a few more points because of this reason, the mastering, this, or musicianship, or one song was just a really short instrumental, so if I take that out, it was a 2.6. You know what I mean? So I kind of do that, just kind of give me an idea. But I think when I look at the song average, it's pretty much where the album is too for me. It's right under 2.5, so it's right under 60, and I really can't give the album really any extra points or credit or anything like that. It's really only 8 songs and an instrumental, and there's two new wave hits on it, but really not the best rest of the album. It's just really kind of okay, So I'm sure this won't surprise Duran Duran fans a lot, but I'm just trying to be nice to not get a bunch of heat from Duran Duran fans, But I'm pretty harsh on Duran Duran in general, but I'm still gonna go through the albums, and maybe it'll change my mind a little bit. Maybe I'll change my mind about the things that I dislike about Duran Duran. I'm curious to see, because I don't know their albums by heart. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, 58 out of 100. That's my album review that's my score for Duran Duran's 1981 self-titled debut album called Duran Duran. All right, thanks so much for watching.